So joining me now is Gareth Thomas, fresh off his Air Canada flight, and President CEO, and you're probably a director too.
I am, yes.
Of Westhaven Gold.
Yes.
How are you?
Pleasure to meet you, Carl.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna have to get out of this mess here of the the airport parking in Toronto. We're gonna take a trip down the 427 QEW, slide into Toronto, and drop you off at your hotel.
That sounds excellent. Thanks for the ride. Appreciate it.
So I got a question for you. If I was a hockey player, right, and I was like in the juniors,
Yep.
and Wayne Gretzky came up to you and he said, "Hey, this kid Carl here, he's got a nice slap shot. He's got my stamp of approval." You would assume that I'd be a good hockey player, right?
I would. Yes, I certainly would.
So now, what happens if Franco
Nevada, yeah.
comes into a junior and says, "You know what? Let's do a little deal here. We'll give you what, 10, 12 million bucks, and we want a little 2% NSR."
Yep.
What would that mean?
Yeah, well, that's what happened. Luckily for Westhaven, very fortunate to have, Franco Nevada, arguably one of the world's premier royalty companies. I was about to say gold, but they do a heck of a lot more than just gold.
Yeah.
And it's a huge stamp of approval for us, Westhaven. I think also the Spence's Bridge Gold Belt there in southwestern British Columbia. So, yeah, we're thrilled to have, all in all, it was about a 10.2 million Canadian dollar. We call it sort of a financing package where they bought 2% royalty on all four of our properties. We can buy back half of that on shovlenose, and then, 0.5% of that, I should say, not half of the two. Then they also bought, we had a royalty on some Talisker ground that surrounded some of our claims, and we sold that as well to Franco. And it's certainly, more importantly, the stamp of approval there. It says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they're the, in my opinion, the Wayne Gretzky of that space. So that's
I would concur. Yes.
And of course, that was started by two people. One of them was Pierre Lazon.
Yep.
Very smart man who we've had on before on our virtual investor conferences. So I'd like to kind of review the capital structure of the company.
Certainly.
What's the market cap right now?
We're under 50 million here today, if I'm correct. Yeah, a little under, maybe 48 million, something like that.
Okay, and fully diluted, how many shares are out?
We are fully diluted. Actually, we just got 10 million warrants off yesterday. Expired, so we're about 148 million fully diluted, and about 139 million outstanding.
And when it comes to your shareholder base, let's start with management. How much of the company do insiders own?
We're at about 23% today amongst directors and officers.
It's a pretty large amount, actually.
Yeah, it is. Okay. We got that's something we're proud of, and we've put a lot of skin in the game in this. We truly believe in what Westhaven is doing, obviously, and. And not only that insider, we got, we know where a good chunk of that, the remainder of that percentage of shares amongst some institutions, one namely Plethora Precious Metals, has been involved in the story for quite some time. They were they were the first sort of fund to get involved, and we got some pretty strong institutional shareholders for sure.
If I'm looking at a pie chart, where would that distribution be? So we got around 25% insiders.
Mm-hmm. 21% would be roughly 21% would be in institutions, the likes of Merck, Franklin, Plethora as mentioned, Gold 2000, Greg Orrell Capital Management. And then I'd say about another 40% is in retail.
Retail.
And then probably 10, I'm not the best at math, but I think somewhere around 10, you're left with what we call close, as mentioned, kind of family friends, where we know where those are in good hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for covering that. So now let's start with in regards to you. How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So ever since for starters, our fellow founder of the company and chairman of the company still is Gareth Thomas, who's my father. He is a mining engineer. He's been in Canada, came to Canada in the mid-'60s, and started off in the Sudbury area in the mines as a mine engineer. Then he made his way west up to Yellowknife and ended up in Yellowknife there, working at the Giant Mine. And from there, he kind of decided he wanted to do, he didn't want to be underground all the time. I think he probably brought that over from his Welsh days as a youngster working in the coal mines there. So he said, anyway, he got an urge for the prospecting side of the business and the geology. So he started doing that out in Yellowknife, started going out and just staking his own claims, and from there formed some companies and had some success, a lot of good success there in the 70s with companies called Aber Resources and Highwood. And so from there I got involved as a youngster. I didn't really have a choice, to be honest. I was kind of kicked out the door and sent up there probably when I was about 12 for a few weeks up there when Gren was up there. Then 14 was actually my full-time summer job, working where my sister's also a geologist in the business, and she was working at a property known as Lac de Gras, which became today, well, it's Dominion Diamonds, but that was where Aber Resources found their success there and turned that into one of the world's richest diamond mines. So I worked there before it was actually, that year it was discovered. So I think I was 14 and washing till, just doing odd jobs around there. And trust me, I wasn't very happy leaving all my friends at 14 in the middle of the summer. But that being said, I'm sure happy I look back on it now, and it's arguably the reason why I'm here today. I have a passion for it, and it's something I enjoy doing. I enjoy field work, and so that's kind of...
And you know it. It's in your blood. Yeah,
and I went back and to school throughout. I moved around a bit, but I ended up getting a degree in physical geography from UBC, and I wasn't really thinking I'd end up exactly where I am today and running a junior exploration mining company, but it's something I certainly enjoy, and it's something we hope to carry on with some further success here.
All right, let's carry on with the team, and who else should we talk about here? Yeah,
we have another founder. There's 4 founders. Another one named Vic Tanaka. He's over 50 years experience in the exploration. Similar to my father, Gren. Vic started up in the Northwest Territories now, which is Nunavut. Vic spent a lot of time up north. He was a part of Aber, the Aber team as well. Vic's got a lot of experience in BC as well. He's a geologist from McGill. Great founder to work with. I've learned a lot from Vic. I learned a lot from just from what he's seen over the years. It's really invaluable information. And then we got Sean Pollard, who's as a founder as well. The 4 of us all together, and he's our CFO. And his background is more he was more on the marketing and buy side for. He was raising money. He used to raise money in London with his old man as well. He was raising money for groups like us and taking them on road shows, whatnot, and had a capital awareness company as well. So Sean comes from more of the money side, and it's been a good team. And then the first few years at Westhaven was pretty from 2011. I think we went public the day gold hit 2000, if I'm correct, and since and down from then it was pretty much a bumpy ride. So it hasn't been easy, raising cash. It was I don't feel like it's ever been easy in that aspect of it, but I think that's also when Gren stepped up, and when things were rough, he was able to put in some money and help us sort of keep us going here. So we're obviously indebted to him, and he's a great shareholder, our biggest shareholder for sure. So that's good. And and then 2018, after some pretty not great years, though we were always drilling, finding more and more interesting things. We weren't drilling a lot. We were just enough to keep us going back the next year. Then we hired a guy worked at Kinross in Russia on what's known as Kupol, which is one of the world's sort of best low sulfidation epithermal gold silver mines. So we were very fortunate to get Peter on our team in 2016. Then fast forward to 2018, we made our first sort of big, well, we had little discoveries before that, but we made a discovery on the Shovlenose property, the 17.7 meters of 24.5 grams gold and 108 grams silver. So that led Westhaven to be the top gainer on the TSX Venture of 2018, that intercept. So that's really goes to show what one drill hole can do to,
Absolutely.
you know, we were at 10 million. It was really a $10 million market cap, and we always truly believed we had something here, and I think it's
Validated.
Yeah, validating it. Then to get that, you know, that nice jump, a lot of people made money. So it was good.
I got to pause you there because
Yeah.
that would have been really exciting. So you, right before you dropped that news, you were sitting around 10 million market cap?
Yeah, I think we were around. We were in around 10-15 cent range. I mean, we'd be in as low as 4.5 cents in that period.
So you dropped the news release, and how was that run in the market?
Yeah, so we were about. Don't quote me 100%, but I think we're somewhere around. We're sub 20 cents. I think maybe 16 cents, and then we ran up to first day was 80, 90 cents. Then we got to a buck. I think we hit close to a buck 30.
Jesus.
There at some point, and I always say I apologize for some of the people who jumped in at, but you know,
You're in control, my friend. That's the best marketing machine you can ask for,
exactly.
right there, right?
You know, you're supposed to buy low and sell high, but yeah, I felt some relatives and things were going on. No, I hadn't even spoken to them. They just said, "Oh, we heard," and we jumped in and bought them. Going, "Oh, you know, you should have maybe wait a little bit." But anyway, we're certainly hoping to have another one of those, and I get maybe that's a segue to last year. We had a really our highest grade drill intercept ever, and our stock went for a nice run there too. So I guess that's sort of what I'm getting at here in conclusion on that note is it really only takes one hole, and we have so many targets on not just Shovlenose but the Spence's Bridge Gold Belt as a whole. So we're really excited about the targets, and certainly this year ahead I think it's going to be a good one.
So I've interviewed a lot of executives now, and I understand we just want to run and talk about the properties, and this is an exciting one. But let's pull it back a little bit because you got a business to run at the end of the day.
Yep.
And inflation's running hot. What is the company doing to try to keep costs down? You know.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this even this is going to sound like we're really smart here, but it's kind of happened. In a way, usually we're drilling by mid-January, late January. We're starting up again, which is an advantage we have to many companies and to many of our peers in BC, where a lot of it's quite seasonal. And once again, no disrespect to any of those. Some of them have some phenomenal properties. Just for us, where our location is it's a part of our lure to us. It's location. We can work there year round. It's a nice thing to have. We're right off 5 minutes off the Coquihalla Highway, a major a major hub there and merit to the rest of the BC. So usually we're up by January. To answer your question, we said this year, and in fact I just ran into someone at the airport there, and I said, we're kind of just getting our ducks in a row here, getting our targets already. So we're really have not that we don't have solid plans every year, but we're kind of just refining some targets. And he said, well, it's not, is the market going to care right now anyway? And there's that kind of attitude. And we said, you know what, it has been a pretty it's been a pretty lackluster market here. We had a nice run up there before Christmas in the gold market, but for us in times like this, it's not so bad to not be on have our rigs turning. So for us, we're probably 2 months or at least a month, I'd say, behind right now in terms of starting the rig, which, the rig's probably 90%, 85% of our budget. So to not be drilling, we're certainly saving cash then. Sure. And but we're still hoping to get to around that 40,000 meters of drilling this year. And if we hit something of real excitement, that could easily ramp up as well. Would be more rigs.
What's your cost per meter?
So years prior to this past one, you mentioned inflation there. Obviously, last year was a bit of a. You gotta make sure I don't curse here, but it was a bit of a kick in the. It was it certainly hit, but that's everybody. We're not the only ones here that affects everyone. But we used to be in and around $200 a meter all in. This year was probably creeping over 250, closer to 275 a meter all in. So yeah, you're seeing a 25%, 30% increase in drilling. That's cost at points, just with fuel, cost of metal, rods, everything is just everything was just obviously up.
What about labor? Are you kind of jumping over other people to grab, human labor?
You know what, labor's, we're so fortunate to be where we are, where the majority of our work is coming from the local community of Merritt, and we got some real great we're working with some great First Nation bands there, and you know what, we're just as year on there we go, we're trying to as inflation goes up, costs go up, we're also trying to do that to our staff in terms of payment and let make sure they're obviously we're very competitive. I think we're very, very competitive, and depending on a lot of folks would like to work. They like working in a town, or for the most part, we go out to our field, working our projects as well. But it's a good job, and I think. But this year, we've discussed this with Sean and our Ryan, our VP operations. Yeah, we're going to have to adjust to inflation to make sure our team is getting properly covered for sure.
Okay. What's sort of your what's on your to-do list at PDAC? I mean, obviously you're coming here. It's the largest mining convention, in the world, from what I know. But what do you want to get out of PDAC?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. At PDAC, we're meeting up with a lot of groups in town, really in Toronto, groups we don't usually get to see, obviously, coming from Vancouver. So we're seeing a lot of updating a lot of groups. People have been involved in past financings and people who are interested, some analysts, things like that. Then we do have a booth for the Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah. And I think it's I've been coming here for 15 plus years. It's just such a great opportunity to some people they live in Vancouver, but I only see them at the PDAC for some reason. Crazy. It's just the way it kind of works, right? You're here and you happen to. It's just it is the best, in my opinion. All around conference for has a bit of everything. Obviously, busy with work and getting your story out, but then there's also a lot of social events, a lot of events to go to. So it's certainly about you got to pace yourself a bit, but it's. I was just talking to a guy on the plane next to me. It was his first time coming out here. He was kind of asking me where to, and I just said, just sort of, don't go gangbusters all at once. Sort of
take it slow.
But it's a great event to come to for sure, and arguably the best, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to 2023 for the company, what's on the to-do list? Where are your goals, and how are you going to approach it?
Yeah, 2023, not unlike other years when we set out our programs and our budget, it's certainly our big sort of MO here is we want to find more gold. Yep. And last year we put out our initial maiden resource in the south zone on the Shovlenose, which was a very great start to our resource, 1.1 million ounces in both categories, 75% in the indicated. We use that. We want to find more south zones. That is our sort of that's our goal, is to find more. We're a drill bit story. We're still, exploration focused here. Mm-hmm. Though we certainly know that this resource could well likely be a mine one day. How big it's going to be, we don't know. And I think our goal is to try and make it as big as possible. And then with our other properties, this will be the first year we'll work all 4 of our properties all at once. Yeah. So we're excited about that. Looking to drill the Skunka property, which we drilled last fall again. But we got a lot of work to do there first. And we'll be working our Skunka North and our Prospect Valley property as well. So exploration's really the lifeblood of the mining industry. You can't mine without exploration and finding it. So it's something we certainly want to be a little more aggressive in terms of some of our targets this year, but we're also keeping in mind the market conditions, and we're staying focused, also looking where we know gold is tend to found along this one trend there on the south zone. So we'll be sort of a hybrid on keeping our 1 foot on that, then also exploring some other targets on the periphery.
When it comes to your shareholders, whether it's institutions or retail, even analysts, throw some analysts in there, what's the number one concern, or what's the number one question of concern that you always get, that you seem to get, that you have to answer?
You know what? I guess, well, money is always one. People are always asking if we're raising money. I think that's just the first question you get from anybody when you, money is so, that sounds so, not cliche, it just sounds so redundant. Money is obviously valuable in this market, right? You gotta, and dilution is a big thing for us, where we want to be, and I think that deal with Franco sort of proved that. We did the most non-dilutive financing we possibly could have done.
Yeah. And
we're very cognizant of our share structure and our current shareholders. So that's a big one. Then I think just, I think some people are still on the sidelines waiting for, we've done it sort of program after program where we drill another high-grade intercept, but maybe it's the continuity and the consistency between some of these zones.
Yeah.
But as we learn more and we get more analogs from other groups from around the world, these things can be quite, almost like pearls on a necklace. They can be quite sort of blotchy, high-grade shoots, and that's just the character of these low sulfidation epithermal systems. But I think, and of course, a lot of the analysts and say a potential strategic, a bigger group or a mid-tier, they also they would like to see that 2 million ounce level. So that's something where
that's kind of a number, a target.
Yeah, I think a meeting there last week, a gentleman mentioned there's 20 or so groups that are kind of similar to you guys. Your goal should be to differentiate Westhaven from these other groups in around that 1 million ounce range, regardless of where they are in the world. He said, how are you going to differentiate from that? And I think that's a thing for us. Is we'd certainly like to get into that closer to that 2 million. We added ounces, no doubt, last year. We didn't do an updated resource, but we know for sure when you drill 23 meters of 37 grams per ton gold and 200 grams per ton silver, you're certainly adding ounces there. But we'd like to keep on finding more ounces, and that's really it. But that's generally the questions and concerns we have: is how are you going to find those? How are you going to find these additional ounces as well?
If someone came to you right now without a resource estimate and said, "We'll give you 100 million," would you laugh at it?
That's a good question, because you're, and I'm sure you get this all the time, Carl, with your many interviewers you've had here, and every CEO is going to say, this is something you could put on one of those Inca Cola bingo cards. It's like every CEO is going to say their company's undervalued, and that is heck the truth. We feel we're worth a lot more than this. But you entertain any offer, but I would think 100 million would still be quite. It's a good question though, because
I've never asked that question.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, but we always entertain those types of things, and of course it would depend if it was cash and shares, and but ultimately, I think we're worth a lot more than that, and there you are. There's the cliche or whatever you'd like to say, but that is the truth. I feel we got a lot more to give here, and I think it would be nice to have a bit of a market, not to use that as an excuse.
Sure.
But it would be nice to have a bit more of an more cheery gold market here. But time will tell, I guess.
So we're not too far from your destinations. Is there anything that you want to say to your current shareholders, potential new shareholders, or anything we haven't discussed?
I'll say it. I think 2023 is going to be a great year for Westhaven, and I mean that sounds a little just sort of ballparky there, but we got lots of new targets that we're keen to test, especially around shovlenose. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned, we're working all 4 properties, and I think the big thing, which I mentioned earlier on in this, is that it only takes one drill hole to really catch the market's attention, and especially if you can do this somewhere with little drilling or a new zone. I've seen a few good examples here lately with some groups. So yeah, I think that's really the message I'd leave. I think it only takes one drill hole to really to really turn this around. So that's kind of what I would leave everyone with, and keep your eye on Westhaven.
And I would say further to that, just a general thing, it only takes one pivot or one interest rate decrease to ignite the gold market.
That's true.
Because it seems like on the macro side of things, that's what's kind of capping gold and precious metals right now, is we kind of need rates to stabilize, and you need some negative jobs reports and negative economic news, as bad as that sounds, that would suggest a potential pause or decrease in the rates.
Yep, I would agree.
So yeah, I think it's been a fantastic interview. There's a handshake right there, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate
I'm glad
that.
I was the one to be your liaison down to your hotel and your first interview. I hope it was good. And,
it was great. I appreciate that.
I wish you nothing but the best here in Toronto, and I hope you have lots of great meetings.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.